Hey everybody, we just had a release last night that I'm really excited about, and so I just wanted to make a very quick video so I can show you some of the things we're doing here. If you take a look at the screen here, this is on the production workspace, or Phoenix. This is where everything is going. This is where over the next 3 months you're going to see us move most of the functionality from DI Desktop and from Classic into. I'm going to show you some functionality here that really doesn't exist in any of the other ones here, and it makes me pretty excited about it. One thing to note right over here on the map is this little filtering. If I click on that, it allows me to filter my table by the wells that I have in the map. So in this case right over here, I just have the particular wells, and as you remember, this right over here is back to our related filings page. But if I come over here and take a look at any one of these other ones, and I click on that, it's going to take me to our new well table. It's kind of a well file table. And so in this case right over here is the well header, the name of the well and what have you, the production. Let me just come over here and maximize that. So it shows you quick production, any well logs if we've got them. A little too early for the directional surveys, I'm afraid, in this case, but what's really happened with regards to these, when it happens. So this is actually going to be where all the data that we have on these wells are going to show up here, in a real easy place to get them. The other thing I want to show you a little bit is how we can basically go out there and start to move these things around here. Sorry about that, I just got rid of that. But in this case, here was the well card, and I'm going to show you some of the new things that are in here. So in this case right over here, you have your same old table. This was the well number, and a lot of different pieces of information about that well right over here in the columns. If I want to download those, I just click right over here, export these to Excel or analysis, just like we have in DI Desktop. Let me show you some of the things we just added yesterday. So for those of you that actually are used to DI Desktop, you're going to be excited to see this icon right over here. This is our group, sort, and aggregate. And in this case right over here, the map view right over here is containing 19,400 producing entities. If I come over here and do this deal right over here into production, it allows me to group these. And so in this case right over here, here's all the different wells. So if I come over here and I group this, let's just say I'm going to group it by current operator, and then I'm going to basically group it by reservoir, and I hit apply. What this does is it re-renders this table. So here are now the various different operators in this map area. So Abraxas, and here are all the different reservoirs that Abraxas is producing from, and all the different wells and what have you that it's doing it with. And notice all the data it has. Some of oil and gas, some of daily GORs, averages, all sorts of things, well counts, what have you. So if I come over here to hit aggregate, notice what else I can do here. So in this case right over here, here's what is all the things that are in that table down there. And you can see like here is, if I wanted to say, let's just take a look at the daily oil. Here's the sum of Abraxas' daily oil. But say I wanted to know what the average oil was. I can just click on that and change that to average. And now daily oil, and let's come over here and do daily gas, instead of being a sum, will be the average of what they have in those particular reservoirs by reservoir, kind of on a per well basis. So I'm going to hit that. And so notice now that went from sum to average right over here. And if I go over here and I click on this, I now have this sorted by average oil. So their Enter Plus resources has got the highest one right over here. And then if I come over here and hit these, you'll notice there's a new chart here. It's called a comparative group chart. and I'm going to take the highest 10 for daily oil average, and I'm going to hit create. And what you see right over here is just that. Here's N plus, XTO, and the different reservoir that they're in. It's got the data as you hover through there. And then if I want to download this, I'm able to download it into Excel or into just a regular chart. So pretty cool. That thing I was trying to show you a little earlier is, now let's just say I want to change where this is on the deal. I want to actually bring this over here. And so now I've just brought it over here and moved the table over here. So kind of I can dynamically move these things pretty easily. I'm going to zoom into, or I'm going to pick I'm going to come over here and kind of come into my filtering, and I'm going to kind of ungroup. Clear my aggregation. And I'm going to go back to that well look. So here we are on the well look again. And I'm just going to come over here and filter just off the operator. So Abraxas has got actually let's come over here and let's just do it by reservoir. And so it shows me how many I have. So here's Bakken and Three Forks, Bakken, Three Forks. Middle Bakken. And all the other ones that they have here. But let's just pick the Bakken ones. And I'm going to just pick the horizontal wells. So 6,400 of those. And let's go now subset this. So now we've subset this to 6,400 wells. And let's just take a look at who the operators are in this particular map area. And so we see Burlington. We see Continental. See Interplus, EOG, Hess. Let's throw Halcon in there. Newfield and Oasis and QEP. Let's just look at those folks. And that cuts that down to another 3,000. Well, now I'm going to just zoom into this little area right here. So now we're about 494 wells. And I'm going to come over here and do decline curve. So what you're going to ask me, what in the world is that? I'm going to hit create. And this is taking the 494 wells right over here. The fewer wells you do this with, the better, actually. But this is going to create a type curve from all the different wells that are here. So there's the type curve from all the wells you're there. So if you're dealing with tens of thousands of wells, I wouldn't suggest that. Just do the type curve aspect on that, because this is actually a little bit more powerful. So let's come over here and take a look at this. And zoom this up, and here is the type curve for this area. So now let's do some decline curve analysis on this. I can come over here and take a look at, these are the particular wells that are contributing to that decline curve. Look at that, isn't that interesting? So if I come in to model that, how do you think it's going to work? Let's go try that. I'm going to just click model. And look at that. It looked and found the flow regime change and went out there and popped it out. If I come over here and I look at the parameters, let's come back over here. It did Duong, so it did the Duong model for the oil. But let's come over here and take a look at the parameters. So in this case right over here, I have 6 different methodologies for being able to define type curves from the literature. ARPS, the power law, SEPD, logistic growth, Duong, hyperbolic to exponential. I'm actually going to come over here and just pick ARPS. And let's just come over here to perform segmentation analysis. So this allows you to go out there and create, identify how big of a variation does it need to be in order to be a change in the flow regime. And then perform outlier analysis. These are how big does it have to be outside of that before you actually, in terms of standard deviation, before you do not use that point to calculate. And then what it does is it looks at the variations of each of these wells or each of these months of production relative to the production side. And it looks at the standard, it looks at the deviation from that, and it adjusts the different components from B factors, or depending on the methodology on how it goes out and does that. And then it runs a Bayesian, you set out the number of trials you want it to run. So it's essentially just running it statistically to see what the variations are based off of changing those based off of good fits. And what you get here is essentially a probability. So in this case right over here, notice this is remaining recoverable reserves, and your 90% is essentially at about 13.2, and your 95% is around 5,500, and your 50% is around 9,500. So this gives you a very tight understanding of what is going on with regards to, is this going to be a really tight distribution, or is this going to be a little bit more of a funky distribution? So let's just come back over here since we chose ARPS, and I'm going to rerun that again. I pick it. So there's my ARPS model. And here you can see it again. It sees this. In most of the cases, these are impacts of a well that basically was fracked next to it. So it calculates those out, looks at this pick, and then creates this probability distribution in terms of the curves forward. In this case, it found the 3 different flow regimes with regards to what it was doing. So this is pretty cool. It comes over here, and it gives you what its cumulative productions are, and then what its best fit EURs, and then kind of the P10, the P50, the P90 of what you're doing right over here. Notice I'm only putting this out for 36 months because in this case I'm running under the assumption I'm going to be buying this production, and I'm just wanting to go see what I have under the, I'm able to get 36-month hedge, and I want to see what that is. But if I wanted to come over here and just do a full EUR, I could come over here and do it to 300 and, let's just do 359 months, so that means 30, let's go out in 30 years. And there you are. So there is now our full kind of EUR. So I'm looking at the remaining reserves. I can also look at the EUR and the total. My decline, I can allow it to go from the model, or I can basically throw an exponential decline or create a minimum percentage decline on top of that. So minimum monthly production, let's just go, I don't like 10, I think 90 is a more realistic one. And of course 90 doesn't really affect this one at all. So here's the months to forecast, the Bayesian trials, and then the other thing that I can do right over here is I'm basically month to reference the forecast from the first month that it picks from the last month. So you're able to go use these as proxies for new wells or what have you. But I can't tell you, this is really exciting to me because we can go do this very quickly across the whole thing. Let's go back to that type curve, and if I want to go down and In fact, if I decide I don't want to use any of these wells over here, I just select off the wells and recalculate the type curve. But let me just go take the type curve and let me go over and do that. And see, ARPS doesn't like that one very much at all. It doesn't like what was going on there. So let me change that to Duong. So you can see right over here that it's just because it's coming down so fast at these last couple that it's really just dropping it down. So really not liking that particular type curve. So I could go out there and figure out the ones I want to take out and take that out. So here if I have oil, gas production, and I can do oil production. So these are all pretty cool, and that one looks pretty impossible to figure out. See, these are, that one looks impossible to figure out. Let's see how it does with something funky like that. And notice what it did. It looked at that, looked at this, and then looked at various different probabilities of production beyond that. Yeah, so honestly, this is really a really interesting way of being able to go do this. I hope you find it as interesting as I do. You all have access to it. One last thing to mention here is when you hit export, you can export any of these as data into Excel files, including your probability time series, or as pictures as well. So if you were in Texas or some of the areas where we do allocations, if you wanted to do it against the allocated production, if you have access to it, you just click that and it takes you from the least to the allocated. And I think you're going to be excited what you see in the next 2 months coming out of our allocated side, because we've radically redone this to be much more in fitting with reservoir parameters and real engineering, as opposed to reported tests in which so many people do just desk tests. So wait for that to come the next couple of months. You're going to see over the next 2 months some radical moves on this whole thing. We're moving this next month geology into this, a lot of the well logs and what have you. And then the next month after that, we're bringing the whole land side into this system. So fun times. We're doing a tremendous amount of work, fastest evolution we've ever had. And I think you're going to love the power we're going to be bringing to you all. Thank you.